Time to wake up.
Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake. What?
Time to wake up. Time to wake up.
Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake. What?
Time to wake up. Time to wake up.
Good morning, everybody. How you guys doing today? Happy Sabbath. Grace and peace, shalom, shalom, shalom to everybody out there that's watching. Thank you for tuning in to the Wake Up. I'm Brother Azakay Fingers, and with me today. Hold on. I did the wrong one. I took down the main volume instead. Okay, here we go. One more time. Happy Sabbath to everybody. Shalom, shalom, grace and peace in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Wake Up Show. All glory to the Father in the mighty name of Jesus. Before we get started, I'm Brother Azakay Fingers. And sitting next to me is my special guest today, Brother Cassious.
Shalom, shalom, Israel. Shalom. Good morning. Happy Sabbath day. Shabbat shalom, shalom, shalams, and all of that.
All right, but don't look there. They over there. All right, so I'm not sure how this sound. I've been having sound problems for the longest. If everybody can hear me, please put a 1 in. Everybody on Facebook and YouTube, please put a 1 in if you can hear me clearly. If I ain't distorting, I'm having a couple of issues with this thing. But thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and get started because Brother Cassious has a lovely lesson. He's going to continue. It's a continuation of what you did the other day, right?
Indeed. Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. So for those that are new, man, I sound distorted, but it might be my speaker. Everybody's saying 1. Okay, cool. Thank you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and open up before we go ahead and have the brother do his lesson. So we're going to start at Isaiah 28 and verse 9. Go ahead.
This is Isaiah 28, verse 9. Whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast.
So we know the he is actually the Lord, and he's the one that's teaching this knowledge. We know that's Christ, because Christ is the spokesman of God, which is the Father and the Son. And who is he teaching? He's teaching his priests. His priests are the children of Israel. Go ahead and read.
Verse 10. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little.
So precept got to be on precept. You could take scriptures here and put them with scriptures here, like this brother has done, like all of us do. But you're going to have people that's going to say you can't do that. You have to read it for what it is in its context. And you can. But the way that the Lord set up this Bible is that you could read something in its context and it goes with something else that's in its context. But the only ones that's going to figure that out is the children of Israel, who are the priests. Let's keep reading.
Verse 11, for with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people.
Now he said in another tongue and stammering lips. What's another tongue? It's other languages. The Lord knew he was going to send us into ships around the world as slaves. So how else is he going to speak to us? And if you continue reading, it'll even tell you he's speaking us other languages, but we still ain't trying to hear what he's saying. You know, this also is also saying you don't have to learn Hebrew. There's nothing wrong with learning Hebrew. I have no problems with that. But the thing is, once you learn Hebrew, don't turn around and start telling everybody else, well, you don't get it. You never will because you don't know Hebrew. All right. He said with other lips, he's my God, the one I serve, he's a fair God. He's not going to put people in the fire just because they never learned Hebrew. All right. Let's go to Isaiah 28. So Isaiah 8. So that's how we learn. So now once we learn, how are we supposed to teach? Let's go to Isaiah 8, verse 20.
This is Isaiah 8 and 20. To the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them.
Notice it says to the law and to the testimony. So you have to teach from Genesis to Malachi and also Matthew to Revelation. You have to have the whole volume of the book. If you got someone that's saying I'm only Torah and they don't even touch the Tanakh or the testimony, the book is saying there's no light in them. Same thing with New Testament people that say, well, I'm just New Testament, but they may dibble and dabble a little bit in Psalms because it's pretty. But if you ain't dealing with the law and the testimony, the book, not me, is saying there's no light in you whatsoever. Let's go to Revelation 12. I'm sorry, Revelation 14 and verse 12. So if the Lord is teaching his people, and the people are supposed to go out and teach the rest of the world, and they must use the law and the testimony, what's going to happen to those people and those that follow those people? Go ahead and read.
This is Revelation, the 14th chapter, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith in Jesus.
So if you want to be a saint, you must keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. That goes with Isaiah 8 and 20. You got to have the law and the testimony. If you missing either one, you don't have any balance. You're going to tip over and you're going to be weighed. That's it. So I'm going to hand it over to my brother Cassious. And the title of his lesson is A Warning to the Romans Who Are Gentiles. Go ahead, brother.
Indeed. To land back off of Brother Azza, what we really want to do is we want to make sure that we have everything in the right understanding. Because things that have happened for thousands of years over this time have completely pretty much screwed up the minds of people when it comes to the accurate doctrine of the word of God. So we have an issue here that we have to expose. So what I'm going to do is not only I'm going to deal with lineage, we're also going to deal with the spiritual aspect of this, right? Because not only is the lineage of Israel the true people, is that the spiritual part of Israel is the true way of life and the true spiritual, and not Rome, not through this Roman Catholic Babylonian system.
Teach.
And this is what we're going to expose today. So if you can, Brother Azza, let's start at Genesis, the 10th chapter. I should have got that first.
Hey. And again, want to say happy Sabbath to everybody tuning in on Facebook and on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe to YouTube channel. All right. You ready?
All right, we can start at verse 1.
All right. Genesis 10, verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood.
So, of course, we all know that if you didn't come from Shem, Ham, and Japheth, you do not exist. You do not exist. So, continue.
The sons of Japheth. Now, let me make a disclaimer. Y'all know I will mess up names in a minute in this book. So just bear with me, okay? All right. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshesh, and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Ripha, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elishah, I guess, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. All right. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nation.
So we all, some of my Hebrew brothers and sisters, we seem to have a confusion on who the Gentiles are. The Gentiles are the children of Japheth. Once again, the Gentiles are the children of Japheth. So what we want to do is primarily, if you look these things up, also if you go into the text, the Bible, and look this up, Javan would be the father of the Greeks. And through him, you have Kittim or Shittim. If you go to Daniel, the 11th chapter and verse 30, it says that the ships of Shittim will come against the king of the north. We know that prophetically and historically to be the Romans. These are the Romans, right? So we're not going to have any confusion on where they come from, right? So let us go. Now that's Japheth, right? Let us go to Genesis, the 11th chapter, to see who's from Shem. Genesis 11 and 10. Genesis, the 11th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 10. And whenever you're ready, Brother Ozzy, go ahead.
Genesis 11 and 10. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Oxford. I can't never say that either. Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begot Arphaxad 500 years and begot sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 530 years and begot Selah. And Arphaxad lived, and after he begot Selah 403 years and begot sons and daughters. And Selah lived 30 years and begot Eber. And Selah lived, and he begot after he begot Eber 403 years and begot sons and daughters. And Eber lived 430 years and begot Peleg.
So we got Eber here, right? So we went from Shem to Eber, which is where the Hebrew people are going to come from. Eber, right? Skip down to verse 27. Go ahead.
Now these are the generations of Terah. And Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran begot Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, and in Ur of the Chaldees.
So we're also going to deal with the geography of these things. They were in Ur of the Chaldees, which would be in what you call Mesopotamia or Sumar. And they're going to travel somewhere. Let's see where they're going to travel. Keep going.
And Abram and Nahor took them wives, and the name of Abram's wife was Sarah, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, and the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren; she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarah his daughter-in-law, and his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came into Haran and dwelt there.
So this is how we ended up from Ur of the Chaldees and Sumar, Mesopotamia, to the land of Canaan, which we would call Northeast Africa, right? So now that we're dealing with this, we know where we are, we know where we came from, we know where we are, we know where Abraham came from, we know where the Greeks and the Romans came from, specifically the Romans. They are Gentiles, and Abraham came from Shem. Let's see what they called Abraham. Let's go to Genesis, the 14th chapter. And we're going to start at verse 13. Genesis, the 14th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 13. And whenever you're ready, Brother Ozzy, go ahead.
Genesis 14 and 13. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, and the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram.
So it's obvious. Abraham the Hebrew. Nobody else is confused, or nobody else has this name but Abraham and his descendants, more specifically Isaac, Israel, and the 12 tribes, right? So we're going to continue. Like I said, Abraham the Hebrew, Japheth the Gentile. We're gonna separate these by lineage so we know and won't get confused about who is who. Let's go to First Chronicles, the 34th chapter.
34? That's a verse.
I mean, yeah, First Chronicles, the first chapter. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Verse 34. First Chronicles, the first chapter, and we're gonna start at verse 34. Now, like I said, we got to run down these lineages so we don't have any confusion when we really get into this. First Chronicles, the first chapter, and we're going to start at verse 34. When you're there, Brother Arthur, go ahead.
And Abraham begot Isaac, and the son of Isaac, Esau, and Israel.
So you got the sons of Abraham, which is Isaac, the son of Abraham, which is Isaac, and then you got the sons of Isaac, which is Esau and Israel. Esau, which we will know as the modern day Jew. And then you also have, when you go back to the Gentiles, you got Ashkenaz over there as well. So combination of Esau and Ashkenaz playing the Jew now, but that's just a side note, right?
Before we keep going, can y'all please give me a 2 if you can hear him clearly, if he's loud enough. If you can hear this brother clearly and loud enough, please put a 2 in the comments so I can make sure. Okay, go ahead.
Let us continue. Let's go to First Chronicles, the second chapter, and we're gonna start at verse 1. We're gonna break this down like through it with its increments. First Chronicles, the second chapter, and we're gonna start at verse 1. Whenever you're there, Brother Oz, go ahead.
All right. So we got First Chronicles, right?
First Chronicles, the second chapter,
2, verse 1.
Verse 1.
These are the sons of Israel: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Joseph, and Benjamin, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher.
So this is going to help us when we go through this story and go through this breakdown to see where everybody come from. Like I said, there's going to be no confusion after this because we want to expose everything so that we can get this thing right, right? So now let us go to Psalms 147. Psalms 147. Now, a lot of my Hebrew brothers and sisters will use this to say only Israel can be saved, or only Israel is going to make it into the kingdom. That is not necessarily the case. But what this is saying is that Israel are the priests. They're the teachers. They're the ones who were given access to the oracles of God, and no one else, until we give it to them, of course. This is Psalms 147. And whenever you there, Brother Ozzy, you can start at verse 19.
Well, Psalms 147 and 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
Right.
He hath not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
So he have not dealt so with any nation. That is absolute. Any nation. Only Israel were given the laws, statutes, and commandments. Not the Romans. That's what we're pointing out, right? Not the Romans.
Right.
So if you're still in these congregations you're going to church on Sundays and things like that, celebrating Christmas, Easter, you got that from the Romans,
which is a Sunday doctrine.
Exactly.
It's a doctrine.
It is a doctrine, right? So let us continue. Now let's see the area of where Israel came from, because all of this stuff is prevalent. It is important, right? So he said he shows his word unto Jacob. Let's see where he showed it at and where these signs that the God of Israel showed these wonders that he gave Israel or let them see. Let's go to Psalms 105. I went too far.
I do that too.
Psalms 105, and we are going to start at verse 6. Psalms 105, and we are going to start at verse 6. And whenever you're there, Brother Ozzy, go ahead.
Psalms 105 and 6. O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen. He is the Lord our God. His judgments are right. His judgments are in all the earth.
So it said that the seed of Abraham is the chosen. The seed of Abraham, the children of Jacob, is the chosen, right? Keep going.
He hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to thousands of generations.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Which covenant he made with Abraham and his oath to Isaac,
mm-hmm.
and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for everlasting covenant.
So we don't have any once again, we don't have any confusion of who was given the word, who was given the covenant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep going.
Saying, unto thee will I give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance.
So Israel was given the land of Canaan, coming out of the land of Egypt and given the land of Canaan. Once again, where is this? This is in Africa instead of Europe, where you get the Gentiles from, right? Mm-hmm. Let's skip down. Let's prove that even more. Let's skip down to verse 23. Verse 23.
Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham.
So Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. That's Canaan and Egypt. We are still in Africa, y'all. We haven't gone over to Europe. So let's get that out of our heads. We are dealing with Africa as far as geographically, and we're dealing with the Hebrews through the children of Israel, not the Romans. Skip down to verse 26 and go ahead.
He sent Moses, his servant, and Aaron, whom he had chosen. They showed his signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham.
Once again, he showed they signs in the land of Ham, Africa. So we could see that these people are black people. They specify this for that reason, right? So let us continue. We're going to go now to Romans. Now we're going to deal with why Paul was actually warning the Romans. Out of everybody, he really stuck it to them. Why he's really warning the Romans, do not boast yourselves over the natural branches or the Israelites, right? So that's what we're going to deal with now. Romans, the 11th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 1. Romans, the 11th chapter, and we are going to start at verse 1. And whenever you're ready, Brother Ozzy, go ahead.
All right. Romans 11 and 1. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid.
Mm-hmm.
For I am also an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
So this is why we named all the tribes, so we can see who Paul is and where he comes from. He's an Israelite from the seed of Abraham, from the tribe of Jacob. Benjamin. From the tribe of Benjamin, right? So what I'm also going to point out too is that some of my brothers and sisters will go through this and say that instead of this being the Gentiles and Israelites, This is the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. We're going to see if that actually makes sense, right? And this is not to offend anybody, but we got to sit down and deal with this scholastically, right? So keep going.
Verse 2, God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Know ye not what the scripture saith in Elias, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, the Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life.
So another thing is we as Israel, the people of Israel, sometimes we feel like we're by ourselves, just like Elias did, right? We feel like we're alone. We feel like we're walking this walk by ourselves, right? But what will God, not only would he'll tell us, this is what he told Elias, this is the same thing he will tell us at the same time. Keep going.
Verse 4, but what saith the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal.
So whenever you think you're alone, remember this, right? Because you got 7,000 other men out there, possibly, but you got 7,000 other men that have not bowed down to the image of Baal. They're in this walk with you. So the Lord will eventually bring these people around you so that you can strengthen your walk as well. Keep going.
Verse 5, even so then at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
So as I stated in my last video, if you saw it on Thursday, there's always a remnant in every generation,
yes,
according to the election of grace, right?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to continue. Skip down to verse 7 and go ahead.
What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blind.
So Israel, the election have obtained the word of God. That's what they obtained. But the rest were blinded. And why is that? It's verse 8.
According to what is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that should not see, and ears that they should not hear, unto this day.
Even unto this day, the day that we're in right now, right? Most of the Israelites right now are blinded. And then you have a certain remnant that knows what's going on, right? And this is why all the confusion is out here, because Israel didn't do their job. As I stated the last time, they didn't do their job. So everybody's out here confused, and then the Romans then took over, right? Let's continue. Skip down to verse 11.
Verse 11, I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentiles to provoke them to jealousy.
Now let's see if this makes sense, right? So now the fall of the southern kingdom, is now salvation for the northern kingdom. That's what some brothers want us to think. Salvation. The fall of the southern kingdom is salvation in the northern kingdom. We're going to point out things that just don't make sense while we're going through this, right? Continue, brother.
Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness?
So if the fall of the southern kingdom is the riches of the northern kingdom, or the fall of woke Israelites is the riches of the lost Israelites. This is not making sense, y'all. No, it's not making sense. But if we see how things are going, the fall of Israel is the riches of the Gentiles. That makes so much sense to me, right? Let's keep going.
For I speak to you Gentiles, insomuch as I am apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office.
So he's not magnifying his office over other Israelites. That's what he's doing, right? Let's keep going.
If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them.
So let me ask y'all something. If Paul, being an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin, runs up to another Israelite that's from the tribe of Asher, we're going to name a northern kingdom, are they not the same flesh because they're from two different tribes? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
No, that doesn't make sense. We're talking about two different people. Let's go confirm that though. Let's go to Acts, the 9th chapter. We're gonna see who Paul was talking to, who he sent to. Because on one end you got people saying Paul only went to Israel, and then another end you got people saying Paul only went to the Gentiles. So we're gonna see if that's the case. We're gonna go to Acts, the 9th chapter, and we're gonna start at verse 10. Acts, the 9th chapter, and we are going to start at verse 10. And whenever you're there, Brother Ollie, go ahead.
Acts 9 and 10. And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And to him saith the Lord in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Behold, I am here, Lord. And the Lord said unto him, Arise and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire of the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus, for behold, he prayeth.
So Ananias was sent to go down there, and the Lord was getting him ready to go down there and receive Paul, right? Let's continue.
And hath seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in and putting his hand on him, that he might receive his sight.
Yes, because Paul lost his sight for 3 days, right?
Right.
So we're going to continue because, like I said, he's sizing them up so he can go down and receive Paul and get him ready for his mission. Keep going.
Then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of, Then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man. How much evil hath he done to thy saints at Jerusalem?
So thy saints in Jerusalem, the Israelites that are in Jerusalem, he has persecuted them. And like I said, Ananias, he's scared to go down there because he knows, man, this man, he didn't persecuted the saints in Jerusalem. You want me to go down there and talk to him? Let's keep going.
And here he hath authority from the chief priest to bind all that call on thy name.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel.
So the children of Israel, that's the northern kingdom. If you go back to the Torah and you see the reference of the children of Israel, that is all of Israel. There's no split in the kingdoms at this time. That is all of Israel. Then he said he's going to take them to the kings. What Israelite kings were at this time? There was no Israelite king. So, he had to go to heathen kings, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And then it says the Gentiles. So he's not going to sit here and say, go to the lost Israelites and then the children of Israel. That doesn't make sense, right? So we're going to confirm this, right? Because he said he's going to provoke to emulation them that are of my flesh. Let's see who his flesh is. Let's go to Romans, the 9th chapter.
Let me finish 16.
Oh, 16. I'm sorry.
Yeah. For I will show him great things he must suffer for my name's sake.
Okay, let's continue.
All right, now we go. You said where?
Romans, the 9th chapter.
Okay.
Remember, he said he's going to provoke the emulation, his flesh, and then he went to the Gentiles, the kings, and the children of Israel. So we won't have any confusion. The Gentiles, the kings, and the children of Israel. So we're going to go to Romans, the 9th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 3. Romans, the 9th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 3. Whenever you get there, Ozzy, go ahead.
Romans 9 and 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ, for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh.
He said, my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. So let's see who this is, right? Keep going.
Who are Israelites?
Northern Kingdom Israelites.
But he's a Benjamite.
Right?
Who are Israelites?
Southern Kingdom Israelites.
To whom pertaineth the adoption,
and
the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of God, and the promises, who are fathers, of whom are concerned the flesh Christ came, whom it is over all. God blessed forever. Amen.
Now I said the concerning the Christ, concerning the who the flesh that Christ came in, right? So Christ is from the tribe of Judah. Paul's from the tribe of Benjamin. Are they two different flesh because there are two different tribes? That's what we want to point out. No, so the Israelites is who Paul is talking to. I mean, the Gentiles is who Paul is talking to about the Israelites, right?
Right.
So now we can go back to Romans 11. We're going to break this down.
We got to finish that 6 though. That verse 6.
Oh, verse 6. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Not as though the word of God hath taken none effect, for they are not all Israel, which are of Israel.
And how can I forget about that? Because that's what it's about. The word of God. It's not about you being an Israelite. The word of God is what it's about. Because not all Israel, not all of who is of Israel is Israel, right? You don't practice the law, statutes, commandments of the God of Israel. So we're going to go back to Romans, the 11th chapter, and we're going to continue this at verse 15. Romans, the 11th chapter, and verse 15. And whenever you're ready, I'll go ahead.
Romans 11 and 15. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead?
So look at what he is saying, y'all. If the casting away of them is the reconciling of the world. A lot of people think that. So like when you go out there and you talk to people about Israel and you being Israel, they always tell you like the Israelites have been cast away. Because for some reason, the casting away of Israel is the reconciling of the world. That's what's in their mindset, right? Let's continue.
Verse 16. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches.
So if the first fruits are holy, then the lump is holy. And if the root is holy, then so are the branches. Who are the first fruits? That's what we're going to get. Who are the first fruits? So we're going to go see that. Let us go to Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter, right? Who are the first fruits? Who are the first fruits? Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter. And we're going to start at verse 3. Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter, and we are going to start at verse 3. Excuse me. And whenever you're ready, Brother Ozza, go ahead.
Jeremiah 2 and 3. Israel was holiness unto the Lord, and the first fruits of his increase.
So did it separate the kingdoms at this point? No, it said Israel was holiness unto the Lord, and the first fruits of his increase. That is who the first fruits are, right? Let's continue.
All that devour him shall offend. Evil shall come upon them, saith the Lord.
So that is a warning to anybody, but like I said, we're focusing on the Romans today. That's a warning to anybody that offends Israel. Evil shall come upon them. So we see all this stuff happen. Remember, this is a continuation of the last one. We see all of this happening, right? If you offend Israel, evil shall come upon you, right? Let us continue. Let's go back to Romans, the 11th chapter, because we wanted to verify who the first fruits are, right? So Paul said he provoked the immolation his flesh, which are the Israelites. The first fruits are the Israelites. Paul went to the Gentiles, kings, and the children of Israel. So there is no separation of the two kingdoms in that particular chapter, right? He's talking to both just in general, but we're not going to marginalize it to being just Israel. Okay, Brother Ozza, go ahead, continue at verse 17.
All right, Romans 11 and 17. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
So he said, don't boast against the branches. Obviously, he's talking about a whole different people to another whole different people, right? So he's telling the Gentiles, do not boast, more specifically the Romans, do not boast against the natural branches, because we're going to see historically in the future from this that's what they did. And they took it further than just boasting, right? Let's continue.
Verse 19. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in.
So they getting cocky. The branches are broken off, so I'm gonna get grafted in. Screw them. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But continue. Why did they get broken off? That was the point, right?
Verse 20. Well, because of unbelief,
Mm-hmm.
they were broken off. And thou standest by faith.
Mm-hmm.
Be not high-minded, but fear.
Be not high-minded, but fear. He got to let them know before they get to getting carried away. Be not high-minded, but fear. And why is that? Verse 21.
For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee.
So this is also to the strangers as well. Don't boast against the natural branches, because just like he did Israel, he'll do you the same exact way. Yes, he will. Verse 22.
Man. Verse 22. Behold, therefore, the goodness and the severity of God on them which fell severity, but toward thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness. Otherwise, thou also shalt be cut off.
So you can be cut off too. So we're not gonna, neither one of us are gonna get high-minded. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have the faith. We're gonna keep the commandments of God and have the faith in Jesus and show the fruits of the Spirit to one another. That's what we're gonna do, all of us. That's what we're gonna do. So he warned the Romans, right? But let's see what they did. They still ended up going off the meat rack. Let's see what the Romans did. Now we're going to Daniel the 7th chapter. Daniel the 7th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 1. Daniel the 7th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 1. And when you get there, Brother Azza, you can read.
All right. Daniel 7:1. In the first year of Belteshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions in his head upon his bed.
Mm-hmm.
Then he wrote them in a dream and told the sum of the matters.
Okay.
Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea.
So the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. We're going to see who that is, right? Keep going.
And the four beasts came from the sea, diverse from one another.
So the four great beasts came up from the sea. These four great beasts came up from the sea. Let's see who they are. Skip down to verse 17. Verse 17.
These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth.
So these great beasts are four kings or kingdoms that should rise out of the earth. These four kingdoms, the Gentile kingdoms, these are the four kingdoms that rule the whole earth, right? So let us continue.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
So, of course, the end result is the saints of the Most High are going to possess the kingdom forever and ever. So now we got these four great beasts, but we're going to focus on one of them, right? Skip down to verse 23. We see which one we focus on.
Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces.
So we're dealing with the fourth beast, which is the Roman beast, the fourth kingdom to rule the whole earth. Now, watch this, y'all. Remember when we went to Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter, it said, all that offend Israel or devour Israel, evil shall come upon them. What does this say? That the fourth beast devoured the whole earth. They didn't just devour Israel. They devoured the whole earth, tread it down, and break it into pieces. So you know something about to come to them, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 24, and the 10 kings out of these kingdoms are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings.
So we got the 10 horns, which is the representation of the rise and fall of the Roman Empire 10 times, right? We're at the 10th right now. Then he said another one shall rise after them. This is the papacy, or what they also call the little horn, right? And he shall subdue 3 kings. These are three of the barbarian tribes, the Hurula, the Ostrogoths, and the Vandals that went against the Romans. So we're still dealing with Rome, right? Let's continue. Verse 25.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given unto his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
So this is going all the way down to the Great Tribulation, which is the time, and dividing of times, the last 3.5 years before Christ comes back. 1,260 days, right?
Great tribulation.
So he said he's gonna speak great words against the Most High. So not only are they boasting against the natural branches, he's speaking great words against the Most High, this Roman beast. Speaking great words. So you know evil finna come because he offended Israel and the whole earth. He devoured them, right? Let's continue.
Verse 26. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion and consume and to destroy it until the end.
So this is that warning, y'all. That judgment gonna sit and they're gonna be consumed, right? Their whole system is gonna be consumed, right? Continue.
And the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven.
Oh, yeah. We're not going to heaven. It's coming down, right?
Under the whole heaven shall be given unto the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him.
So obviously, if we have to retrieve the kingdom, that means at some point that we lost the kingdom, right? And the saints, of course, we're dealing with Israel and the strangers that should join among Israel, but Israel first, right? It's not Rome, it's Israel, right? So let us go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. We're going to see what happened to this kingdom because we didn't do what we were supposed to do, right? So the same thing, remember he told the Romans, Paul told the Romans, that if you don't continue in the faith and goodness, the same thing that happened to Israel is going to happen to you, right? So let's see what happened to Israel. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 15. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 15. And whenever you there, Azza, go ahead and read.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Now, though we're getting and talking about Israel right now, this is still a warning to the Romans, because if you don't do what Israel didn't do, then it's going to happen to you as well, right? Let's continue.
Verse 16, curse shall thou be in the city, and curse shall thou be in the field. Curse shall be thy basket and thy store. Curse shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, in the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep. Curse shall thou be when thou comest in, and curse shall thou be when thou goest out.
So skip verse 48. Now, cursed, you're going to be, these curses going to follow you, right? So the God of Israel is not just into blessing folks, y'all. He will curse you as well if you don't follow them commandments, right? Continue.
Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things.
So y'all see now this is interesting. Y'all see how they didn't shut everything down, right? Now, if you was in your own government and all that, this wouldn't happen. But you're subjected to the country that you live in, to the nation that you live in, right? Because he said you were going to serve your enemies in the nation you didn't know about, right? So I wanted to point that out because you can see it manifesting just with the shutdown of everything because of this virus, right? Keep going.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. And the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, and from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
And this is because we didn't continue in the faith, we didn't keep the commandments, and we forsook our God. So this came upon us, right? Skip
50.
50.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
So another reason why I'm showing this is that when we get into the historical part, we want to see who was one of the nations, or the nation at this time, the last portion of our captivity. What nation authorized this, right? So let's continue. Skip down to verse 60. Verse 60, and go ahead.
Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and thou shalt cleave and they shall cleave unto thee. Also, every sickness and every plague.
Every what?
Every sickness and every plague.
Every sickness and every plague. Once again, whatever is for Israel is going to be for the whole world, right? So you see these sicknesses and plagues are going out here, right? Let us continue. Where did he say about them, right? Go ahead.
Which is not written in the book of this law.
So coronavirus is not written in the book of this law, but guess what? It's out here, right?
AIDS,
HIV, all of this other stuff is out here, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's continue.
Them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
Right. Skip down to verse 64 and go ahead.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
So when you're scattered into all these nations, not your nation, but when you're scattered into all these nations, you will be worshiping other gods, other religions. So let's point that out. We are in captivity in the other nations, worshiping their gods, right? Let's continue.
And among these nations, thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and a failing of eyes, and a sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see.
Continue, verse 68.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way thereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
So, of course, we know Egypt, or the land of Egypt, being synonymous to Israel as the house of bondage. Y'all were going to return into Egypt again with ships and be sold to your enemies as bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you or redeem you. Right. So we're looking at what God did to his own people. So if you ain't if you're not part of the covenant, and you ain't from the people, then think if you're wicked, what he's gonna do to you. That is the point we're making, right? This is the warning that's being issued out here. Let us continue. So we're gonna see this being broken down now, because when it comes to Deuteronomy 28, what you got to remember is that when you're reading down in the chapter, it's different segments of our times in history. We started out with the Assyrian captivity, and now we're down here to the transatlantic captivity. And as you can see, when you go all the way down, it's going in order. Right? So let us continue. We are going to Lamentations, the second chapter. Lamentations is the second chapter. We're going to see just how the Lord feels about Israel doing this, and it's going to give you an idea of what he's going to do to these Romans, to this Roman here. So we're going to Lamentations, the second chapter.
Let me say this. For everybody that's on Facebook, I'm starting to see that people are saying that it's choppy and messed up. Uh, Again, this is why I tell a lot of people, go to my YouTube channel. For some odd reason, Facebook been giving me problems these last couple of weeks. So go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and I'm sure you can watch it better on there. That's all. Go ahead.
Okay. So like we are at Lamentations, the second chapter, and we're gonna start at verse 5. Lamentations, the second chapter, and we're gonna start at verse 5. When you're there, go ahead, brother.
And the Lord was an enemy. Let me say that again. And the Lord was as an enemy.
So who is he as an enemy to? Israel. So let's humble ourselves with this. The Lord was an enemy to Israel. Keep going.
He hath swallowed up Israel. He hath swallowed up all its palaces. He hath destroyed its strongholds. He hath increased in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation.
Let's just see this description of this is how he feels about Israel after what they did to him, right? Keep going.
And he hath violently taken away his tabernacle. Wow. Wow. He hath violently taken away his tabernacle,
right?
As if it were a garden. He hath destroyed his places as of the assembly. The Lord hath caused the solemn feast and Sabbaths for it to be forgotten in Zion.
Now, let me make a disclaimer. This does not mean the law was done away with.
Right.
It's just when Israel wasn't on the ball, he took this away from us. So let's continue. I just wanted to point that out.
And hath despised in indignation of his anger the king and the priests. And the Lord hath cast off his altar. He hath abhorred his sanctuary. He hath given up unto the hand of the enemies the walls of her palaces. They have made a noise in the house of the Lord as in the day of the solemn feast.
So what's coming up trips me out, y'all. This is scary when it comes to God. Verse 8.
The Lord hath proposed to destroy the wall of the daughter of Zion.
He said he purposely destroyed the wall of the daughter of Zion. So this wasn't no accident. Like when he want to get at you, he gonna get at you. Keep going.
He hath stretched out a line. He hath drawn his hand from destroying. Therefore, he made a rampart and the wall to lament. They languished together.
Ouch. Keep going.
Her gates are sunk into the ground. He hath destroyed and broken her bars. Her king and her princes are among the Gentiles.
So the king and the princes are among the Gentiles, right?
They aren't Gentiles, but they're among the Gentiles.
They're among the Gentiles. Of course, this is not talking about Israelites being among other Israelites, right? They're in captivity. Keep going.
The law is no more.
The law is no more. So the law is no more among the Gentiles. That means that when you go into these traditional Sunday Christian churches, it's not surprising when they tell you that the law is done away with. Why? Because the law is no more among the Gentiles, right? Keep going.
Her prophets also find no vision from the Lord.
So that's even worse because the prophets don't find no vision from the Lord. So how you going to get an answer from God, the true and living God, right? Let us continue. So now the continuation in the start when it comes to the Roman captivity, when we're finally exiled from our land for good until we go back, this is what we're going to establish right now. Luke, the 21st chapter. Luke, the 21st chapter.
And again, if you have a problem on Facebook, go to my YouTube channel. I'm live on there too as well. I'm going to start looking for other platforms because it seems like I'm always going to have a problem with Facebook. I prefer to just go on YouTube, period, but if you're having problems connection and it's bad, go to the YouTube channel. It's probably good on there. Was that Luke 21?
Luke 21.
All right.
And we're going to start at verse 20. Luke 21 and 20. Now, let me state this. When we read Romans, the 11th chapter and all this is the time of the fourth beast. Let's just point that out. This is when they are ruling. At this point, they're ruling the world at this point, right? Let's continue.
And when ye shall, Luke 21 and verse 20, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is near.
Mm-hmm.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto.
So this was talking about 70 AD when Roman General Titus compassed Jerusalem with his armies, right? So we're still dealing with the Romans, right? Keep going.
And he said he was going to violently take it away from us.
He said
right?
he was going to violently take it away, right?
So here it is. Verse 22, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled.
So we just read that Deuteronomy 28, Lamentations, the 2nd chapter. These be the days of vengeance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's continue.
But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
Mm-hmm.
For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon his people.
And like I said, who's doing this? The Romans. So what's gonna happen? That what happened to Israel is gonna happen to them, right? If they don't get themselves together. Keep going.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive unto all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
So Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And at this time, it's starting with the Romans, right? The Romans. Mm-hmm. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get into some history real quick.
Yeah, pull it up.
So this is from the Creed of Constantine. You can just read this first part, but let me
go ahead.
Let me set it up. So basically, remember when I told y'all we're getting into the fact that we went into captivity, right? This is a captivity we went into in 70 AD with the Romans. Our transatlantic slave trade captivity was by the Romans, right? So it also said that the king and the priest in Lamentations was going to be among the Gentiles, and the law is no more. We're going to find out how that happened, right? How that happened. Go to source.
Yeah, I was just about to ask what's the source. Okay, so this is called the Constantine Creed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you tell the source.
So the source is from Stefani Asimani, the Acta Sanctorum Martyrdom Orientalum at this is hard. This is hard. I'm sorry.
I mess up the Bible. You want me to read that? Greek?
It says Occidentalium, Volume 1, Rome, 1748, pages 105.
Okay.
Right? So this is what this is.
All right. Constant Creed. You want me to read this top one too?
You can.
All right. All Christian leaders had to declare this creed to become part of Constantine's Christian religion.
So like if you go in the history in 321, he pretty much denounced the whole Hebraic faith. And this is what this is gonna.
This was supposed to be the religion of Jesus the Christ.
Right.
All right. First paragraph. I renounce all customs, rights, legalisms. Legalism?
So like my people with the law of the land, doing the law of the land over God.
Wow.
You should pay attention to that because he said legalisms of the Hebrews. We do have a legal system in the land of Israel, right? Keep going.
You know, I'm gonna start this again because I want people to understand we're reading from something.
Right.
I don't want nobody taking this tape. See, they renouncing and all that. So let me just again. Here's the thing, you know, and he done gave you the source, so I'm gonna start it again. This is quoting from the Constant Creed. I renounce all customs, rights, legalism, unleavened breads, and sacrifices of lambs of the Hebrews.
So you know that's talking about the Passover and unleavened bread. So we're dealing with this now. Y'all see Trump trying to get everything started back with Easter. not Passover and unleavened bread, which is what we should be dealing with, especially with these plagues, right?
Man.
Keep going.
And all the sacrifices of lambs of the Hebrews.
Yes.
This cat knew what they was doing.
They knew what they were doing. So the law is no more among the Gentiles. Y'all see that? Keep going.
And all the other feasts of the Hebrews. Sacrifices, prayers, aspirations, purifications, sanctifications, and propitiations, and fasts, and new moons, and Sabbaths, and superstitions, and hymns, and chants, and observances, and synagogues, absolutely everything Jewish, every law.
Now, that's crazy. Who else did this in our history? Antiochus did this with the in the time of the Maccabees when he made all the heathen give up their laws, right? So this is just a continuation of the same lineage, y'all, making us do the same thing. Give up the laws of God, right? Keep going.
Rights and customs, and if afterwards I shall wish to deny any return to the Jewish superstition, or shall be found eating with Jews, or feasting with them,
right?
Or secretly conversing and condemning the Christian religion instead of openly confuting them and condemning with their vain faith.
Right.
This is amazing, man.
So vain faith. So they think that God's laws is vain faith, and to follow the Messiah is vain faith, right? With the law. Keep going.
This is still renouncing this stuff.
Yeah, they're renouncing it.
Then let the trembling of Cain and the leprosy of Gehazi cleave to me.
Now that doesn't make sense with them. Like, I guess that's why they stay white.
Yeah, but how would they know about Gehazi? But anyway, unless they read the book.
Right.
The leprosy of Gehazi cleave to me, as well as the legal punishments to which I acknowledge myself liable. And if I and okay, I'm sorry. And may I be as anathema, I guess, in the world to come. And may my soul be set down with Satan and the devils.
It's so that word is synonymous like vagabond and things like that.
Wow.
So this is what Constantine's creed was, y'all. Like
to denounce all this stuff.
To denounce all of this stuff.
It's coming again.
And it's coming again. Like y'all better get ready for this. Because they did this. Like I said, Antiochus did this before. They did this. So imagine what you're going to do when they make you renounce your faith. That is a warning. That's why we have a warning to these folks, right? Right. So we're also going to go to a source from this is more history from AmericanMagazine.org. This is the Catholic Church authorizes slavery. Catholic Church authorizes slavery. Keep going.
So which one am I reading? The whole thing?
So you're reading the whole thing. Matter of fact. Yeah, so them two.
Okay. And let me state this real quick. For those that watch me on a regular basis, you've been hearing me over here coughing a little bit. I have allergies. I just wanted to say that because, like I said in my last one, he got it. He got the virus. I have allergies. I've been up all day and drank me some nice warm tea from the faucet, just so people don't be like, see, he cooking on. So I just wanted to say that because you're going to hear me clearing my throat because I got allergies. All right. So back to this other creed. This is, again, you said from the New York Times,
this
right?
This is from the AmericanMagazine.org.
You want me to read that? America.
Yeah, you can read.
Okay. This is from America, the Jesuit Review.
The Jesuit Review, y'all. The Jesuit Review. Keep going.
Recent stories in the New York Times and the Washington Post have once again turned the spotlight on the Catholic Church. Catholic Church's long and largely unreconciled history of slavery in the United States. This time, the focus has shifted to the nation's communities of nuns. Over the past few years, an increasing number of Catholic orders with the roots in the pre-Civil War United States have begun to take concrete steps to confront and atone for their complicity and agency in the history of the chattel slavery.
So they know they got to atone for this because they know what they did, right? They sat here, took the children of Israel from West Africa, right? Took them from West Africa, brought them over here, and what did Deuteronomy say? They were going to serve other gods in the other nations. What did they give them? They gave them this Constantine's creed, and then they took them into slavery. Who is this? The Romans. They've been with us all this time, and they know what they are doing.
Yeah.
Right? Continue.
In fact, their efforts represent a larger story of white orders reckoning with their long-standing histories of anti-black racism.
Mm-hmm.
As a historian, I am always happy when more Americans, especially Catholics, become aware of the church's history at the first and the largest corporate slaveholder in the Americas.
They are the largest corporate slaveholder in the Americas, the Catholic Church. This same organization or the same spiritual system that we've been in all our lives, they're the ones that authorize our slavery. So let's see the document where this was said at.
Some of y'all that's in Chicago, if you know people that go to that one Catholic church on 78th off of Racine, you need to show your brothers this video.
Right.
Brothers and sisters, this video. Become aware of the church's first corporate slaveholder in the Americas. I suspect minds will be blown again when more people become aware of Pope Nicholas V.
Yeah, Pope Nicholas V.
1452 papal bull Dum Divarsus, which authorized the European invasion of Africa, right, Asia, and the Americas, and sanctioned perpetual enslavement.
So sanctioned perpetual enslavement from Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Mm-hmm. Once again, that is Pope Nicholas V's 1452 papal bull, Dum Divarsa. This is before colonialism comes into Africa. This is before that, right? So you already see that at this point in time, we were already keeping our customs, still our Hebraic customs in West Africa. This is what they brought us. They did not bring us the Bible. They gave us the Constantine Creed.
Right.
That's what they gave us, right? So we're going to continue, right? We're going to continue with this in Revelations, the 14th chapter. So since I did this, now we can see who the rest of this story is about to talk about. When we talk about Babylon and things like that, we're talking about the spiritual system of Babylon, right?
Can I add something real quick?
Go ahead.
This is all coinciding with a lesson I did called the 400 years is time up, or now it's already up.
Right.
In that lesson, I showed how the British, first it was Portuguese,
right,
got permission from the church, this Catholic church, to go into Africa, like this is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Spanish. But then when the British tried to come in, the Spanish and the Portuguese went to try to block them by going to the Catholic Church.
All right.
So this is confirming that the Catholic Church was the one behind the whole thing.
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're at Revelations, the 14th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 8. Now, I know Brother Ozza read this in the introduction. So now y'all get to see why this is deeper. This is even deeper now because this will be the patience of the saints. When we went through this whole thing, right? Now the saints know why they're going to have patience, what they're waiting on. Let's continue.
Revelation 14 and 8. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she had made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
Mm-hmm.
And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb.
So I know a lot of people they talking about doing these when it comes to these vaccinations and things, putting these RFID chips into the vaccinations. This is not the mark of the beast.
It's not the mark of the beast, man.
Now, whether they might use it for certain things involved in that, that's one thing, but this is not the mark of the beast. And why I say that is because people have voluntarily gotten this without knowing why they're doing it. So God is not going to punish people for things that they're ignorant of. Like he's going to go in there, I got this chip, I don't know it's the mark of the beast, he's going to punish me for it. That's not the case.
Let me say something about the mark of the beast. Satan is the greatest magician ever.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All magicians, what do? They learned this from him. I got you focused on this while this hand is doing something else.
Right.
And that RFID chip, how you say it again?
RFID.
The RFID chip is this in your face while something else is going on.
Right.
So it's not the mark of the beast.
No, it's not the mark of the beast. But since all of this is happening, it's a test run, right?
Right.
We want to sit here and be ready and be in the mentality to deal with this if we're living in this time, right? Let us continue. Verse 11.
Verse 11. And the smoke of their torment has ascended up forever and ever. And they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name.
And that's why I said be prepared for this, because look, brothers and sisters, this is the reality. All of us are not going to make it to the wilderness. We're not. All of us are not going to make it to the wilderness, and we may have to go through this thing. So once again, like I said in the last video, if you panicking now, just imagine what's going to happen when this occurs and you're in it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Are you going to give up your faith and take that mark? Continue, Brother Oz.
Verse 12, here the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus.
So the patience of the saints is knowing what's going to happen to people when they take the mark of the beast, and if they don't take the mark of the beast. That's the patience. That's one of the patience I'll say that. I'll say that. So let us continue. We're going into Revelation
13, I think you
wanted. 13. I keep doing that.
That's why I'm here, man.
Yeah.
And I heard the voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them.
So their work, see that works again? People are saying you don't need works to get in the kingdom. So why are they following you?
But blessed are the dead that die in the Lord from henceforth.
So we all gotta die. We all gotta die one day. You might as well die in the Lord.
In the Lord, yes, sir.
In the Lord, right? Now let us continue. Revelations the 17th chapter, excuse me. Revelation 17. So we're gonna describe Babylon with this as far as this woman, right? We're gonna describe it. Go ahead.
And there came one, the Revelation 17.
Revelation 17 and 1. Revelation 17 and 1.
And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
Of course, this is not talking about the great prostitute that's sitting on many waters. It's talking about a nation or spiritual system, right? Keep going.
You could have said whore. I would say hoe.
Physical.
But you know, but you're not me, you know. Right? I'd be like the great hoe that set upon the water. Anyway, verse 2. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Which is mean her doctrine, right? Let's keep going.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw the woman sit upon the scarlet-colored beast, full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Right. They got them 7 heads and 10 horns again, right? Keep going.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of the abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
So if y'all can go online and just look up women with the scarlet colored purple and scarlet on her, right? It's going to show you the Jesuits, the cardinals, and the Pope.
Yes, sir.
That's what it's going to show you. Then that same picture is going to show him holding the golden cup with the filthiness of a fornication. This is the Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church is being described here, right?
And this is not a conspiracy.
And this is not a conspiracy. And they are conspiring against us.
Yeah.
But this is not a theory. We're going to put it as not
right.
a theory.
This
right?
is what the book is. The Lord knows the end from the beginning. So he's telling us what they're going to look like.
Right. So what is her title, right? Keep going.
Verse 5. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth.
So if you're going into these Sunday churches, right? Like I said, we're not here to offend nobody. This is just true. If you're going into these Sunday churches, you are in the doctrine that is the abomination of the earth, from the mother of harlots, right?
All harlots.
All harlots. Mystery Babylon. Sherlin's mystery, because it's confusing when it's real confusing, right? So another this next verse I want people to pay attention to, because you may have to be the one to fulfill this prophecy, right?
Yeah.
Right? Keep going.
Verse 6. And I saw the woman drunketh with the blood of the saints.
With the blood of the saints, drunken, right?
And with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
Let's think about how deep that is, right? Because none of us saw what John saw, right? But he saw us. He saw us in the future. He saw who was going to fulfill this prophet. Well, probably not every individual, but he saw the generation of who's going to fulfill this prophecy, right? And that's us.
Right.
You know, and you might, like I said, not everybody's going to make it to the wilderness. You might have to be a martyr of Jesus. And that's real faith you got to show. That's real faith, right? Skip down to verse 9 and go ahead.
And here is the mind that which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, on. Y'all excuse me, you know, with all my markings in the book.
Right.
On which the woman sitteth.
Oh, okay. So you got these 7 mountains or 7 hills. This is the 7 hills of Rome. Y'all can go look this up. They have maps showing this. So if you look it up, you'll see Rome. You'll see the 7 hills of Rome, right? And then you'll see one more thing. Skip down to verse 18. This is the thing you're going to see.
And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth.
This is Vatican City, y'all. Vatican City. So the seven heads, the 7 hills of Rome. The woman is the Catholic Church. You can see the purple and scarlet from the priest and the cardinals and the Pope. You can see the golden cup that if you go to, like, I know I started off as a Catholic and we kept drinking out of that golden cup. You know what I'm saying? So this is the one that's going to be drunken off the blood of the saints, the Catholic Church. If you look in their history, they've been doing this. They've been doing this, right? So we are going to continue on with Babylon, Vatican City, the Holy Roman Catholic Church, which is the same system as the Babylonian system. Right?
And isn't Vatican City sovereign amongst itself?
Yes. It's sovereign amongst itself. Like you can do a crime outside of Vatican City and then go into Vatican City and they can't charge you for it. They have their own sovereignty over the world. Right? So they know when they send out them Jesuits to do whatever they're going to do, they safe when they come back in the Vatican City. That's sad.
All right. Revelation 18.
Revelation's the 18th chapter. We're going to continue with this. Revelation's 18, and we're going to start at verse 1. Revelation's 18 and 1. Keep going.
And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the inhabitants of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
So you can see like how God is describing this, how the Bible is describing this with the Roman Catholic Church. This is not good, y'all. So we want to get out of this system, out of that mentality, so we can hear God's word and move accordingly. Let's keep going.
For all nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
All nations, including Israel. Right?
Yes,
keep
sir.
going.
All nations have drunk the wine of her the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
So we know the Catholic Church didn't made folks so rich it don't make no sense, right? Keep going.
And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues."
And receive not of her plagues. Because at the end of the day, when you see all of this chaos going on, this is a result of what the fourth beast did to the whole earth. So this is how we're connecting everything, right? She gonna get her plagues as well. You don't want to partake in her plagues. And then at the same time, you got the plagues coming from Israel's curses. So all of this stuff is just going on simultaneously because of the wickedness of the earth, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 5, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and doubled unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled to her double.
Right, keep going.
How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. And she saith unto her in her heart, I sit as a queen, and am to no widow, and shall see no sorrow.
So, like, as I said in the last video, I showed that the rulers in Jerusalem are saying that the scourge will not come upon them, even though they made a covenant with hell and death. This is that same mentality. You're not supposed to have this mentality because you calling the Lord out. And we see what he said he's going to do to Israel. That's also going to happen to anybody else. Let's skip down to verse 10.
So that means Israel did it first, right?
Israel did it first.
And then the Lord said that the wicked have done what? They learned from who?
Israel.
I think that deserves a sip. That deserves a sip right there. You have taught the wicked ones their ways. Yeah. Jeremiah 2, I believe that is. Yeah. So let's keep on reading. I forgot where I was.
Verse 10.
Verse 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Elias, Elias, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is that judgment come.
Oh, of course, this is going back to the patience of the saints that we know Babylon is going to fall, right? Keep going.
And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn after her. No man buyeth her merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and of silver and precious stones and of pearls and of fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine in wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and of iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beast and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves.
And slaves, this is coming from Rome, right? Slaves, we just read what they did. They authorized slavery in the Americas, right? And what else did they get?
And souls of men.
So they got the slaves' physical bodies and then the souls of men. This is Babylon. This is the Holy Roman
Empire.
Right. Verse 14.
And the fruits that thou so lustest after are departed from thee, and all things which are dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all.
So eventually this is going to be all over for this system, right? You see what I'm saying? Things that we lusted after that we got that was authorized by the Catholic Church, because they didn't authorize everything. The doggone Pope, he calls himself the vicar of Christ, the replacement of Christ. So They have a mindset and the arrogance that they can do all these things without getting punished for it, right? So we are going to go to 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter. So since we saw all this, who the Gentiles sacrifice unto you? Who do the Gentiles worship and sacrifice to? And this will give you an answer as far as, do you think that you are in the right spiritual system? Do you think you're living the way of life of the God of Israel through Christ? Right? So we're going to 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 20. 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, and we are going to start at verse 20. When you're there, Brother Oz, go ahead and read.
But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to God.
So the Gentiles sacrifice to devils, right? So if you're in their religious or spiritual systems, guess what they sacrifice unto? Devils and not to God, because the true and living God gave his word to Israel, right? Keep going.
And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils.
Right.
Ye cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. Ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and the table of devils.
So here's the reality, y'all. You cannot keep Easter and the Passover. You cannot keep you cannot keep these things. That's just, you cannot keep these things. You cannot keep tabernacles and the Christmas. You cannot keep these things, right?
You can't keep tabernacles and Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, you can't. That's a better one. You can't keep tabernacles and Thanksgiving.
I shouldn't have said that.
You know what I'm saying? Well, it's out there now.
You're gonna get in trouble with me, man.
But like I said, you cannot keep these things, and you're gonna provoke the Lord to jealousy. You don't want to do that, right? So I'm gonna briefly discuss what actually is going on as far as me breaking all this down. Do y'all know that there is a meeting that the Pope called for all the world leaders on May 14th?
Yes, sir.
Right, to discuss the new humanism of life as far as what they're going. And we already know that this is established in the New World Order, right? But there's something else that's funny about this, right? Not only is this the day that they're having this meeting, this is also the day the Jews got access in the land in 1948, May 14th. This is also the Feast of Corona. The Feast of Corona. Y'all can go look this up. The Feast of Corona.
This ain't no conspiracy.
This ain't no
theory.
conspiracy. You can go to things like Catholic Online, you know what I'm saying? And you'll just see it. This is the same day. So this is not a coincidence, right? While we got the blinders, while we got our eyes on this virus, right, which is serious, which I stated.
Yeah.
It's very serious. They behind the scenes putting together meetings and stuff to discuss our lives, to discuss what they're going to do, as far as the world is concerned, right? So now we got to sit here and think about is, are we going to continue with this Babylonian way of thinking? Though the Lord said, come out of her, my people. That's why he said, come out of her, so that you won't be partakers in her sins. That's in her plagues. That's why you want to keep the Passover. That's why you want to keep all the things that Constantine renounced and made all the church leaders renounce, right? So we're going to continue this, and this is continuing to be a warning to them since they rule the world. What is going to happen at the end with Israel, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter. Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, and we have two more after this.
And since we're speaking to this, let me make a disclaimer again. No one's saying that this virus is not real. What I've been saying since I've been seeing things, that it's a smoke screen. The evilness of this world, the leaders, they don't care about people dying.
Right.
We just read, he just put in his lesson, well, the saints are going to suffer. All right. So no one's going to care. You know, they're not going to care about people dying. This virus is here. But I've been saying it's a smoke screen. And now we're starting to see the stuff that's behind in the fire that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He just pointed it out about this meeting. But there's a
Right.
lot of other things too.
Oh, it's a lot of other things, but
that's
I
gonna
thought I
happen.
might point that out because it's just a coincidence. You got the coronavirus and then Corona's Day that they're having this meeting with this world order that they're coming up with. So, like I said, we're going to show a blessing to us as far as Israel, what the saints will be waiting on. This is still a warning to them because no matter what they do, no matter what plans they have, this is still going to happen, as God said. Right. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, and we're going to start at verse 1.
Deuteronomy 30:1, and it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse, which I shall set before thee, that thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord God hath driven thee, and shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children and thine heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God has scattered thee.
So this is to excuse me, this is to all the people who keep saying, well, when is Jesus coming back? You know, it's been so long. Let me ask, that's not the question that you should ask.
Right.
You should ask, when are you going to start keeping the commandments? Because he said, in order for him to come back, you have to do all that he commands you to do. And not enough of the world is doing this yet and have been doing this. We're now just coming into the light of things to keep the commandments and why and who we are. So if you ever wondering why we're still in this situation, or people saying Jesus is supposed to have been Cain, that's the white man's book and all this, that, and the third. No, if you turn back to him, he will turn your captivity. Right. Let's continue.
And as far as the day he coming back, the book says Christ doesn't even know.
Right.
The only one that knows is the Father.
Right.
Now, if the Father would have told Christ and Christ would have told us, guess what everybody would be doing? Sending their butt off. Oh, Christ coming back on October 5th? All right, I'm sending all the way to October 4th.
Exactly.
You know, that's what will happen. So all glory to the Father for not revealing it to us.
Right, exactly.
All right.
So verse 4.
If any of thine be driven out unto the uttermost parts of heaven, for thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he bring thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers.
There go them people that's trying to do the population control. It's not that ain't gonna happen. We go multiply and still multiply beyond past our fathers, right?
Yeah.
So that's not gonna be effective. Verse 6.
And the Lord thy God will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, and thou that thou mayest live.
So once again, you circumcise the heart of the people by the commandments of God and the faith in Jesus. That's how you circumcise the heart, right? Let us continue. So we're going to balance everything out. Now, even though this was a warning to the Romans, it's a warning to everyone, but it's more specifically a warning to them because they're ruling the world at this time and their spiritual system is running rampant, devouring the whole earth, right? So, but as far as people returning back to the Lord, right, we're going to see at the end what the Lord's plan was. For who? Was it just Israel? Nope.
Oh, you going there? You going there?
So first of all, let's go to Isaiah, the 61st chapter before we get to that. Isaiah, the 61st chapter, and we're going to start at verse 1. Isaiah, the 61st chapter, and we're going to start at verse 1. And whenever you're there, Brother Isaac, you can read.
Isaiah 61:1. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good things unto the meek.
Yeah, we know this is Jesus. This is
Ooh,
prophesying what Jesus is going to do, right?
Unto the meek.
Unto the meek.
Not the tough guy.
Right?
He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted,
Mm-hmm.
to proclaim liberty to the captives.
Didn't we just see that he was going to turn your captivity? So he gonna send Christ, our Messiah, to proclaim liberty among the captives. Right? Keep going.
And the opening of the prisons to them that are bound,
Mm-hmm.
to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn.
This is our patience, y'all. Like, we're waiting on the vengeance of our God to take down Babylon the Great. Right? Keep going.
To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness.
Now, this is specifically dealing with Israel right here, but in the interim of things, this is for everybody. You see what I'm saying? This is for everybody, and we're going to see that. Skip down.
Let me finish that verse.
Oh, go ahead.
The planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified.
So he's gonna be glorified by doing all of this, y'all. This is gonna be a sight to see. I mean, if you want to live, if you want to live
Right.
through it, you got one or two choices: live through it, or die. But let's keep going.
Verse 8.
Yes. Skip down to verse 8.
For I, the Lord, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering, and I will direct their work in truth. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them.
So he gonna make an everlasting covenant with Israel, not Rome, y'all. With
Right.
Israel, right? Let's keep going.
And their seed shall be known among the Gentiles.
So this is to all the people that try to say it don't matter who Israel is, this, that, and the other. Obviously, it matters if their seed is going to be known to the Gentiles, right?
But wait a minute, man. If the Gentiles are the northern kingdom, shouldn't they know who the seed is?
So the southern kingdom seed gonna be known to the northern kingdom,
right?
Or to the lost Israelites. I mean, wouldn't the lost Israelites fit this?
Be known to the lost Israelites,
right? You're known to the lost Israelites. No.
Let me read verse 9 again. And their seed shall be known among the Gentiles, and their offspring among the people.
So this ain't no spiritual offspring. We're talking about the seed of Israel, the physical seed gonna be known among the Gentiles, right?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which the Lord hath blessed.
So that he's separating the people that are looking at Israel from Israel. So that doesn't make any sense why you would say that it doesn't matter. It's going to matter in these last days, and we're waking up so people can see that these prophecies are coming to pass, right? So let's go to the last place, which is Isaiah, the 49th chapter. And this is going back to what I had said. Who is this for? Right? Is it just for Israel? Isaiah, the 49th chapter. And we're going to start at verse 5. Isaiah, the 49th chapter, and we are going to start at verse 5. Whenever you're ready, Brother Isaac, go ahead.
All right, Isaiah 49 and 5. And now saith the Lord that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Lord.
All right.
And my God shall be my strength. And he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob.
That's just a light thing. Just raise up the tribes of Jacob. What else is going to go on?
And to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles.
To the northern kingdom.
To the Gentiles.
Right. To the Gentiles, the children of Japheth and the other nations in the world as well. Right. Keep on.
That thou mayest be my salvation unto the ends of the earth.
So they going to get salvation too? yes, they're going to get salvation too. They don't need salvation from their enemies and from captivity. They're not in captivity. But as far as from that wrath and the indignation of God, where you're going to be tormented day and night forever and ever, yes, they can get salvation from that. So let's not be unfair when we breaking this Bible down, right? Keep going.
But who's saying all this? Thus saith the Lord.
Thus saith the Lord.
The Lord is what said in verse 5 and 6 that he started off with.
Right.
Thus saith the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel.
Even though he's the Redeemer of Israel, he still said what he said before that, right?
And his Holy One.
Right.
To him who man despiseth.
Mm-hmm.
To him who the nations abhorreth.
That's why his indignation and his wrath are going to come upon these nations, because they hate him. They hate him, right?
To a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise. Princes also shall worship, because of the Lord that is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee.
And he shall choose thee, Israel. So a warning to these Romans: no matter what you do, no matter what you put out here, no matter the evil and the manipulation and doctrines you put out here, he's still going to choose Israel, right? He's still going to choose Israel. Now, like I said, this was a warning to them. It's a warning to all of us that if we don't continue in the commandments of God, if we don't have the faith in Jesus, if we don't treat our brethren with love, loving them like we love ourselves, even the stranger, then we're going to be partakers of the wrath of God and his indignation as well. And I thank you for your time, and shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom, man. Thank you for that, man. That's man. Hey, little bro here, man. Listen, if you're not friends with Cassious, his name is Cassious Israel
or Shazak Ben Yehuda.
All right. Oh, you got that on Facebook too?
Well, I've been trying to. I can't put it on there. But Shazak Ben Yehuda, y'all will see it. Don't be surprised when you see it up there.
But look over there. They over there.
Don't be surprised. I keep doing it. Don't be surprised when you see that name pop up.
All right. So yeah, his name and do you think you're gonna go ahead and start what I told you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
How
soon? It might be this week, but definitely next week, next Monday.
Okay.
I will start putting up lessons on the regular so y'all can see these breakdowns. Got a lot of stuff to show. Shout out to the Walls of Jericho, of course, my team and whatever, the ministry, doing big things.
Mikael Ben Israel.
I'm
sorry, Ben Yesharon.
Yesharon Ben Israel. I'm sorry, bro. We got to get your name right.
Brother Ade.
Ben
Brother
Judah.
Akin. I mean, Eleazar.
Right.
Brother Eleazar.
So
who we missing? Mikey.
Yeah, Brother Mike, we see you out there too.
Yeah, man.
Hope you listening. But shout out to my brothers. You know, I love y'all brothers, and we gonna keep fighting this fight, man. We gonna keep fighting this fight, keeping these commandments and having the faith.
Yeah, we ain't got no choice. We got to endure this to the end.
Yeah,
right?
endure to the end.
So I thank the brother Cassious. Again, he's gonna start doing live lessons too. Monday nights. You gonna go 7 or 7:30?
Monday. Well, 7:30 would be 7:30.
Yeah. So Monday nights, 7:30. You can catch him. You got a YouTube?
Not at the time. I'll just be on Facebook for the time being. I'll let y'all know when the YouTube is up, so then you can go in there. But right now, it'll just be Facebook.
All right, cool. So I thank everybody for tuning in and watching. Take care of yourselves, man. I want to give a little thing as far as this virus is going on. Of course, we done heard everything to do eternally. All right. You know, drink warm water, inhale, all that stuff. That's cool. But one of the things that I do when I work paratransit, which is picking up disabled people on a bus, and I crack the window. I crack the window because some people could be sick. As you can see, I got that fan in the window.
Right.
All right. The thing is, if you have air circulating, it helps push whatever virus, not just this one, but whatever virus, it pushes it out. If you got all your windows closed and all that, you can turn the AC on if you want to. But it's been shown that when a person sneezes, that the heavy particles fall to the ground, but then there's light droplets that linger in the air, and it can linger for a long time. But if there's air circulating, it pushes it out. So I used to have people on the bus complaining, why you got that window cracked open? Because I ain't trying to get sick. I don't know what y'all got. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to put that out there for people that if you're in a house, you know, crack a window, maybe turn a little fan on, help circulate everything in there. So again, thank Brother Cassious for this awesome lesson. Next week, because what I'm doing now is I'm setting up brothers to come on the show, do some lessons. Next week, Lord willing, it's going to be Brother Simeon Wyatt. All right, me and Simeon teach the kids at the class. So I asked him. I got another brother. I'm going to confirm it with him. I'm also trying for 2 sisters. And if y'all watching, y'all better call me. I'm trying to get 2 sisters to teach the sisters. All right? That because we need that. That's something that I think we lack.
Yeah, we definitely
need some sisters to teach the sisters. So again, I thank y'all for watching. Please like, share the video. All glory to the Father in the mighty name of Jesus.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Time to wake up.
Peace in Jesus' name, y'all.
Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake.
Time to wake up. Time to wake up.
Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake.
Time to wake up.